Hey, it's Charlie Craven from Fly Fisherman Magazine. I'm going to tie up Craig Mathews' Pheasant Tail Sparkle Dun. It's an old fly with a new twist that I think you're really going to like. And special thanks for sponsoring the video and the column to Dynaking and Umpqua. Check it out. Let us know what you think. Hey, it's Charlie Craven, and today I'm going to tie Craig Mathews' Pheasant Tail Sparkle Dun. And this fly is, a variation of his original Sparkle Dun that he worked with Yvon Chouinard and Mauro Mazza in their new book, Pheasant Tail Simplicity, kind of working ringneck pheasant tail fibers into a lot of different patterns in appropriate places. And being as this is probably the fly that Craig Mathews is most famous for, the Sparkle Dun, adding the pheasant tail and the way he ribs it, which very much appealed to me, seemed like an obvious choice. So this is the fly that I'm going to tie, and I'm going to tie it in a PMD version. But obviously you could change the color of the thread, the dubbing, and the hair to match whatever mayfly that you were hoping for. So I'm going to take this finished guy out of here, and I'm going to put, this is an Umpqua XC110BL. XC110BL. This is a size 16 in the vise. Get him chucked in there correctly. And then I'm going to pick up some Simperfly 50 denier nano silk. And on a size 16, 50 denier is just fine. If you get down on an 18 or 20, you probably want to go to 30 denier. So I'm going to start this thread just behind the eye. And I'm going to dress the front, half or so of the hook. Put a thread base back and forth. And then I'll back up to about 25% of the way back. About a fourth of the shank length back. And now for the wing, I'm going to use some short fine ginger bleach Varner. Where is he? There he is. Josh Varner, deer hair. This color just matches the color of our PMDs out here in Colorado very well, if I can get that up there close. It's not bleached yellow. It's sort of a tan color. So I'm going to cut a fairly nice chunk here and clean it out and stack it up in my stacker. And I'm going to measure this against the hook shank, so it's about a shank length long. I'm going to take my thread, I'm going to give it just a little bit of a spin. I don't really quarter it up much. But I'm going to lay it in at that pre-measured point. I'm going to put one turn around it, and I'm going to put the next turn right behind that turn. Then I usually kind of tilt my hand a little toward me and press my index finger into the far edge as I tighten the thread to flare that hair down. Then I'm going to make a band of thread, and this band of thread is going to travel backwards, back toward the bend. Like so. I'll give you a little better view of that. Now I can come in and trim these butt ends off, and I want to trim them as close as I can without trimming my thread, which has been known to happen here and there. And I can even come in and trim these butts a little bit more tapered if need be, if I didn't get them all, but I think I got them all there. Then I'm going to come down over those butts just to anchor things down and come back right up to the base of the wing. Now, conventionally, Sparkle Duns, or traditionally, or in years past when I've always tied them, I would lift that whole wing up and build a big thread dam in front of it to stand that wing up. Now, Craig has come up with a better method. It's more efficient. It gets the job done a little more cleanly. And you don't have this big giant wad of thread in front of the wings. And so what he does, and just while I'm at it, if you have not gotten a copy of Pheasant Tail Simplicity, you should. It's actually a really interesting book. Beyond the idea of just tying a few simple flies to kind of use everywhere, which is sort of the premise of it, but a lot of really cool little tricks and tips that are in that book as well, both on fishing and tying. So there's my unasked for recommendation. You should have that book. It's a great one. So to do this wing, what we're going to do now, instead of build up the whole big thread dam, is I'm going to take about 50% of this hair and lift it up and kind of pull it back. And I usually just grab it with my fingers like that. And I'm going to bring the thread in front of it and put a couple turns in right at the base. Then I'm going to lift half of the hair that's left and put a couple turns in right at the base. And then I'm going to lift the last bit of hair And I usually kind of have to crease this up a little bit. There we go. With my thumbnail. And I can build a little bit of a thread dam right here to prop up just that last little bit to stand that wing up. Then I'll grasp the wing, kind of get it all together. I'll bring my thread back. And for the shuck, I'm going to use a little bit of brown Zelon here. And this is about 1/3 or 1/4 of a strand, pretty thin little bunch. I think I moved my wing when I did that. I did. You'd think if I could move it back, I could move it forward, but not having much luck there. Maybe I didn't move it. I'm going to tie this Zelon in, and I'm going to wrap back over it to the bend. And I want to keep that on top, like so. You could trim that now or later. I usually leave it till later. Now I'm going to come in with about 5 or 6 strands. I just grabbed 5 of ringneck pheasant tail fibers. Nice sort of rusty colored pheasant tail fibers. I'm going to clip the tips so that they're square. And I'm going to tie these in at the bend and just pull them down to the butt of the wing. And I'll bring my thread forward right up to the base of that wing, or to the base of the butts. Now I'm going to wrap this pheasant tail fiber for the abdomen, and I can kind of overlap these wraps. It'll build a little bit of a taper as I go, right up onto the butts of the hair, and then I'll tie them off. A few turns, make sure you don't catch your wing, and then trim those butt ends out. Now, one of my favorite things about this fly is when I first glanced at it, I thought for sure it would have a copper wire rib, like pheasant tails always do. In the case of this fly, what they've done is they've ribbed the fly with the tying thread, which is why the size of the thread is important. If I tied this bigger fly with that 30 denier, it just wouldn't, that rib would sink in between those pheasant tail fibers and not show up. What they've done, what Craig has done, is rib the body of this with this nano silk thread, which A, is very tough, and 2, is the color of the adult bug. So we're going to get kind of a little peekaboo look through this abdomen by spiraling this thread back over the abdomen to the bend. And then when we get to the bend, change directions and come forward again. So you're kind of making cross-hatched X's through that abdomen to give it a little hint of yellow peeking through that shuck. And the idea being that this is the nymphal shuck and kind of what is empty of it hanging off the back, with the adult bug starting to crawl out the front end. Pretty crafty way to go about it. Doesn't surprise me a bit from Craig. Everything he does is crafty. So now we're going to finish this off with a little bit of dubbing. I'm going to use some pale yellow superfine, but again, match the color of your local bug. And I'm going to dub this on. It takes a little more than you think because you've got a little bit longer section in the front. You got to keep in mind you're trying to imitate a bug that's coming out of the shuck, so it's kind of half adult and half nymph. But I'm going to start this dubbing just behind the wing, so I've got a little yellow band there. Then I'll sweep the wing back, and I cross to the front, then I'll cross to the back again. And the reason I'm going to do this, I'll end up doing this twice. There's the second turn. The reason I do that is that will cover up the butt ends, or the tie down on the underside of the hook. Now I can kind of sweep this wing back and build the remainder of the thorax. And I just want to taper this up to the base of the wing. And as I run out, I should be right at the hook eye. Look at that. It's almost like I've tied 2 dozen of these today. Then I'll whip finish the thread. I'll throw one more in there just for good measure. Trim that thread out. You can kind of preen your wing into the 180 degree splay. What I typically do with that is I'll roll my thumb back on top of it and kind of press it all back. That usually spreads it out pretty well. And then I'm going to trim this shuck to about a shank length long. And I usually try to cut it a little ragged if I can. I'll give you a front view here. I can work on that a little more to get that spread out a bit for you. Truth be told, I don't like mine completely 180. I like them a little bit more U-shaped, so they don't come quite all the way down to the water, so that body sits a little lower in the water. But whichever version you like, you do. They're going in your box, but that is a pheasant tail sparkle dud. Crafty little variation on the theme. A fly that everybody likes, everybody's used. with a little twist that makes it a little something different to look at that will fool some extra fish for you. You guys, thanks for watching. I'm Charlie Craven.